Hello, and welcome to the preview of the NFL Week 7 games. Tonight, I'm joined by Blackie and Fui. Brasher's out enjoying the relaxed COVID restrictions, and he'll be back.
We can go 25 kilometres now, so yeah.
He probably forgot to put petrol in the car, and he's 20 kilometres away waiting for a refill. So wherever you are, Brash, we're thinking about you, and we'll hope to have you back next week with the rest of the turkey. Week 7, God, the season's gone by fast. Almost sort of the halfway point, getting close to it. And because we've had a little bit of a hiccup this week, we're recording the podcast after Thursday Night Football. So though it's a preview, we can actually talk about the Giants-Eagles game.
I was gonna predict the score of that game for the people, and now you just ruined the magic.
Yeah, I know. That's why I jumped in first, because I knew you were going to try some stupid shit like that.
No one would believe it.
Actually, we should do it and just see if people fall for it. Oh, God, that Fui's accurate. It'd be more surprising if GG picked it, but only slightly. I don't know what to say about that game other than, yet again, it's the 8th best division in football. And my God, neither team looked good, but it was in the end, it was a reasonably entertaining game. Comeback win by the Eagles. Is Fulgham the real deal, do you believe, Blackie?
Yeah, I doubt he's getting 11 targets. When in the long term, when Rager's back, got it, and they potentially take another receiver in the upcoming draft, but he's been serviceable.
Any other insights from the game?
Danny Dimes can't run 100 yards.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because just quietly, I know you're a big fan of Danny Dimes, Blackie, but I can't see it. I reckon, I think that goose is cooked just quietly.
Losing faith by the day, but they just can't get any run happening at all. But Shepard's back. Ingram didn't do many favours. Golden Tate's old. I still slate good, but their O-line is patchy. Yeah, they've got a few things to work out.
Fui, that was one dropped Evan Ingram pass away from being a giant win. Does Ingram dropping the game change the course of history and forevermore rewrite the course of the 8th best division in football?
I think it's just a pretty good summation of Ingram's career. I think he's either injured or dropping it. So, yeah, I think it was what was expected of a game of this caliber going in. It was close. It was exciting, but mainly because it was two shit teams going head to head more than the fact that there's two good teams, laying it all out and putting on a show. So, yeah, I think it was what we thought it was going to be. So
moving right along, because we don't really want to talk too much more about that game, although it was interesting that the fans were in the stadium for the first time in a home game at Philadelphia all year, in more than 10,000 fans. And when Carson went through an interception in the first half, oh my God, did the boos rain down. You would have thought there was 35,000 people there, which, as I've said several times on this podcast, just shows how lucky the Eagles are that there's been no fans during this little stretch, because they've had a few home games where the fans would have been rioting if there'd been any in stadium. But yeah, we'll leave that game along and move on to the ones that haven't yet been played, starting with the Bills and the Jets. Now, Blackie, I know you're an avid Red Zone viewer, much like myself, on the old NFL app. One of the weird things about watching Red Zone towards the end of last week, when you had the two games, the Buccaneers Packers game and the Cowboys game, it wasn't Red Zone. They just stayed with the Packers game, and nobody would have known that Fitzmagic was putting up multiple touchdowns on the Jets. Are the Jets going to get beat down again by the Bills, and will Red Zone show any of the game?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to see Jets do anything. Bills coming off, 2 losses in a row, will be looking to beat the shit out in a dividitional game. Yeah, I reckon they'll smash it. Whether it's on Red Zone or not, I don't know. Yeah. They don't tend to show.
It breaches the college broadcast rights, you reckon? Yeah, it was weird, because the Dolphins game, actually at 2/3 of the way through that time slot, the Dolphins game had more points scored, but yet they'd shown none of it on Red Zone compared to the Packers-Bucks game. Was weird. So I can only assume that that's because they know that the Jets just don't rate. Browns-Bengals, Fui, who's going to win that one? And does your boy Joe Burrow get eaten up alive again?
I've just got a sneaky feeling that the Bengals might win this. Am I the only one feeling this at the moment? Probably. Yeah, okay. I don't know. It's just, it was a fairly demoralising loss for the Browns last week, and they'd been riding high for a while, and that they've come back down to earth with a massive thud, I think, and I don't think they have enough on the defense to stop a bit of a scoring spree. So I think we're going to see a high scoring game, and I think the Bengals might come out on top.
You on the Mayfield train, Black? You big backer of Baker, or not so much?
I thought he was genuinely a safe bet when it came to draft, super accurate, and therefore, even without a very, very strong arm, very good ability Steelers defenses, he would be okay. But I think middling talent at best. I think if he wasn't taken at 1, he would be all right because there'd be lower expectations. They'd put less on his shoulders. But he'll never escape at the Browns. So I think his best bet to be replaced by Zach Wilson in the upcoming draft and go to a different.
Yeah, so it's the showdown between the former number 1 and the latest number 1. And just quietly, I don't profess to be the quarterback whisperer. I leave that to the Nugget Man and others on the podcast. But I don't believe either Burrows or Mayfield are worthy of number 1 picks. And I don't think either will turn out to be long-term quarterbacks in the NFL. But that's just me. What I know.
You love Carson Wentz, so.
Oh God. And he wasn't a number 1 pick. Moving on to quarterbacks that have been in the NFL quite a while, we have the Steelers against the Titans, which of course is old man Ben Roethlisberger up against Ryan Tannehill. Both teams actually had really good games last week, and both teams feature pretty talented offense. Derrick Henry, obviously a big part of the Titans, and the Steelers have a pretty amazing set of wide receivers. We're going to see another high-scoring game yet again, or one of the team's defense is going to step up to the plate, do you think, Fu?
I think this is going to be a very defensive game. It's my mouth-watering game of the week. It's the one I'm going to get up and watch, definitely. Yeah,
you do realise it's on at the same time as the Packers game.
Oh, shit. All right, looks like I'm going to have to go out and buy another laptop. That's fine. We'll, I'm sure one of these will be on TV, one of our games. But no, I think it's going to be a brutal slog just to assert some dominance over a fellow power team. And obviously it'll end up giving one of these teams their first loss for the season. So am I doing a pick or am I just...
Whatever you want. Just don't talk about chicken nuggets.
Well, I think the Titans will score 21 chicken nuggets and the Steelers will score 14.
Blackie, who's going to be the sole remaining undefeated team after this one?
Steelers.
Noting, of course, the Seahawks are also undefeated. I'm disappointed neither of you picked me up on that.
I thought there was one more. But they're both teams. They're both teams that I feel are overrated, but the more I see them or watch them, the more rated they get for me. I said preseason.
Is this the point at which that you used the Blackie phrase somewhat fraudulent?
I think the Steelers could be somewhat fraudulent, yeah, but I think Titans are the real deal.
Remind me to send you a check for using that phrase, Blackie. You're going to earn some royalties off it.
Thank you.
Probably the two least compelling games in that time slot would be Lions-Falcons and the football team against Dallas. For me, the football team against Dallas, the highlight for me will be how well Andy Dalton plays and whether Riverboat Ron goes for 2 points yet again when he could easily kick a point after and take it into overtime. And I think it will be Matt Patricia's last game as head coach of the Lions. Highlights from those two games, you're on the lookout for a sterling performance by Andy Dalton, Blackie?
No, I want to see Antonio Gibson against a very shit team to see if he's up to be honest.
He could very well run for 150 and catch 130.
If he doesn't do it, he'll probably never do it. So that's what I am looking forward to. Not much like that Andy Dalton offense, to be honest, especially if Zeke's fumbling twice. What has he had, 5 fumbles this year? They've got major issues.
Fui, you're looking forward to another excellent win from Matt Patricia's team?
Yeah, let them win. I would like the Lions to win as many as they can, just so they keep Patricia, to be honest, because I know he's got nothing as a coach. So it only helps us stay afloat at the top of the division even longer. So yeah, but there's all sorts of rumours, about trading Matt Ryan, trading Julio Jones, which probably won't come through due to their contracts. But yeah, they're big in the trade rumours at the moment, the Falcons. So it'll be interesting to see how they play, see if that gets to them at all, see if it's playing on their minds. And I actually think Falcons.
Just as a side note, I played All That Power in Empire last week, and he had Zeke as his running back, and I wound up winning by less than 3 points, 179 to 176 point something. And All That's put in a protest because on the last Dallas offense play, when Zeke did fumble, Zeke also applied the tackle on the player that had recovered it, and he reckons Zeke should get credit points for making the tackle. So stay posted to see how that plays out. So that sort of sums up.
How much much a tackle's worth in Empire?
3 points, so that would be just
okay,
enough to put him over the line. And if it was a tackle for a loss, technically it was, it'd be 5. It's a GG scoring special. So yeah, we'll keep an eye on that and see if the score gets corrected in a couple of weeks and he gets the win. But yeah, the Dallas run game just it says something when New York Giants without Saquon Barkley are able to have a better running game than the Dallas Cowboys with all the money that they've thrown at Zeke and the offensive line. It really is. You're starting to see some deep flaws, and it isn't just because Dak Prescott's not out there on the field. That team in Dallas is deep flawed. All right, we'll talk about the last game that's interesting from that early time slot on Sunday, and that is, of course, Fooey, the Packers against Texans. So, Blackie, is Deshaun Watson going to own Green Bay? And how many pick sixes does Aaron throw in this one?
I think 4 touchdown pick sixes, at least. To be honest, this is a team I'm not really interested in. I think Green Bay will struggle to. Do you agree, Fooey?
I'll tell you after next week. This just a little tidbit of information. Aaron Rodgers, after a loss, has some ridiculous quarterback rating of like 140 or something like that. So I'm expecting a score quite a few points.
Yes, but this is another game in a place where there's actual sunlight, not in the tundra of Wisconsin. So you have to figure that weighs against his bounce back tendencies.
It probably does, yes.
Hey, Coach, what's that thing up in the sky? It's hurting my eyes, making my skin go red. That's the sun, Aaron.
Whether we can stop the Texans scoring more points is my main concern at the moment. I'm honestly getting the feeling we're going to lose this as well. Yeah, I don't know. From a neutral observer, yeah, I think it'd be a TTL game, but from someone important like me, it's very interesting.
What about, Blackie, what about the 49ers-Patriots game? Should Brash be getting his hopes up that he might finally get a win over in snowy New England? Or is your little performance against New England going to snap them out of their stupor?
What is it, 20 players the Niners now have on IR?
Yeah,
crazy like that. I'm going tangent. Jason Verrett's been absolutely awesome for the Niners among a lot of injuries. Still have Fred Eck too. I think Jimmy G obviously struggles a little bit, but now they've got Debo back. He's been a great rookie addition, and Kittle is the best tight end around. Far better than Kelsey. Their run game's obviously going to struggle if Mostert's out, which I think he is with a high ball. I still think they'll charge home.
Is this Jimmy G's first game back in New England?
Question.
It would be, unless they played a Super Bowl there.
Yeah.
That's a very good question, Fooey. Of course, you haven't done any research, so you don't know the answer, but it's a good question. Yeah, I think, for me, it'll be interesting to see if Cam Newton in particular is again diminished by a deliberate ploy by the defense to push him in the middle of the field, because that was very obvious, Blackie, that's what your mob did to him was deliberately and was almost so premeditated. You knew it was going to happen on every play, but New England seemed to be able to do anything about it. And if everybody learns from that and picks up that that's how you stop Cam from being as effective, then I'm not sure that the Patriots have the receiving weapon to be effective when their passer is as limited as Cam Newton is. I don't know, maybe I'm too negative, Blackie?
No, they categorically don't. Like, they picked up N'Keal Harry at the end of the first round, and I thought he was going to be okay, but he gets less separation than anyone I've ever seen. I thought that Cam would be able to do what he did to Kelvin Benjamin, but it just hasn't. They lack. They're good. They've got a lot of work to do there. They haven't done Cam, sure.
And certainly they've never had, in Belichick's time, never really had a beastly running game. They've had effective running games, like the likes of Deion Lewis stuff, but only working not dominant. So yeah, it'll be. I'm fascinated to see if Patriots season takes a turn for the worse, because Broncos showed everybody how to do it. Moving right along to the Broncos game, Fooey, Chiefs against Blackie's mob. Do we see Jeff Driscoll play in this game, or is this a Drew Lock special? And how much does Mahomes win by?
Are you saying that because I love Mahomes and I don't think he'll ever lose a game ever again, or?
No, I'm asking for your opinion, not your love story.
I'm not sure if I was daydreaming or not, but I think I had a dream that the Broncos won this one with Locke playing a starring role. Yeah, it's one of the more interesting games, I think. The Chiefs haven't been their explosive selves over the last few weeks, and they're probably about due. Broncos obviously had a win last week on the back of a bunch of field goals, so they'd want to probably get a bit better there and get in the end zone instead of having to kick for it. Look, it's got the makings of a very good game, and obviously a division game is always fun, which I think Black is definitely looking forward to. But unfortunately, I think the Chiefs are probably going to break the shackles a bit and score some points.
What do you reckon, Blackie? Are you getting your hopes up to lose by less than 30?
No, we'll win. Easy. We've got heaps of players.
Von's going to make that much of a difference.
No, who are we getting back? Draymond Jones, Van, heaps of other guys that are right, but we'll be the goods. People don't drop passes. Drew Lock will be fine.
You being serious?
It's going to be heavy, so could anything happen.
True.
I'm quietly, I think we're going to have to be on our toes today because Edwards, Hilaire, and Levin Bell are not sneezed at, but I'm quietly bullish. I just want to see some good signs.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how, in all seriousness, how your defense adjusts, because obviously that was a pretty big effort from them in a game they weren't necessarily expected to do that well in against New England. Particularly with the younger defensive players, you tend to usually have them. They'll have their first big success and then they'll take it a bit easy the next week. So it'll be interesting to see if they can.
Yeah, absolutely. Ojemedia, the rookie cornerback, I think was the highest paid cornerback in the league over the week. Forced a couple fumbles. He's something to get pretty excited about. But yeah, not expecting massive things. Good signs would be great. I mean, especially with Justin Herbert looking like the next coming, you're going to want a pretty good team over the next 10 years.
Yes, yeah, for sure. And I think, if nothing else, it also helps the defensive guys build a bit of cohesion, even if they don't win, if they play well. And the Chiefs' offense is not flawless, particularly if you can put a bit of pressure on the edges and stop Mahomes from having so much time in the pocket. So it'll be interesting to see in that one. Not much to talk about with Jaguars Chargers, except the big talking point we all know in that game will be whether John Brown is still the kicker and whether he gets to kick for his fourth ever field goal. Probably the other game that I know Brasher would have been really super excited by, the Seahawks against the Cardinals. Blackie, is this going to be one of those games where it's Pete Carroll sideline special, or does Kyler Murray take over and it becomes the 5'7" headless chook running around the field?
I was looking at Kyler's stats today, and his rush stats are gaudy because I was looking at his pass stats and they were pretty average, but the bloke scored a lot of touchdowns on the ground, like insane. I don't think the Cardinals defense going to be able to handle the assault they're going to receive from Lockett and Metcalf. If the Seahawks had Antonio Brown, as many are predicting, it's going to be pretty hard for the other team, Pete, but he won't be a factor.
I think this is a game where you've got two teams that, like all the other good teams in the league, they haven't really beaten anyone. And that's not really a comment on these two teams itself, but it's more a comment on the media and people saying that these teams haven't beaten anyone, where there's lots of shit teams at the moment, so no one's beating anyone. It's just the good teams beating the shit teams, which is expected. But again, Seahawks defense won't be able to contain the Cardinals either. I think it's going to be a big offensive game. Some very good receivers in this game. Hopkins leading league in receiving yards. You expect that to continue after this game. I think Seahawks probably have the edge, just because they probably have a more consistent running game. Yeah, I think that's where it will be won by them being able to chew up a bit more clock.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm fearing that my least favourite NFL coach of the current crop, with his white shiny shoes, will be running up and down the sidelines jumping for joy, because I think the Seahawks will just be too strong for Arizona. But I could be wrong. Moving on to the Monday game, we see the surprisingly successful 5-1 Bears going to the unsurprisingly unsuccessful and inordinately disappointing LA Rams, who've done nothing except beat the NFC East, which, let's face it, is like beating up a 5-year-old to taking their lolly. Blackie, is the Nick Foles Big Dick Nick show gonna rock Los Angeles?
No, he's crap, and I always have. Even when he was putting up 27-2, I was there saying he was lobbing it up to Riley Cooper into double coverage. Cooper is middling at best, was being down. It was a complete aberration. He captured lightning bottle Super Bowl. I think he's any good at all. I think his supporting cast is reasonable. In terms of Allen Robinson, very, very good player. The run game's okay. I thought Anthony Miller would be better than he is, but he's certainly not in a worse position than any quarterback.
Fui, you'll be hanging out, see Jared Goff, and prove to GG how you're right and he's wrong, and Goff's a really good quarterback. Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it should be an exciting game. You get two teams with a winning record, and on a Monday night, so it should be a really big, full of hype kind of game. But it's not exciting. But to be honest, I'm hoping the Rams Raiders can show something. I'm a little bit worried about losing my bet with all that power at the moment. It should be a good game in some sorts, probably defensive, I think. I know it's kind of obvious to say, but just whichever team will allow the least kind of big plays might get the win in the end. But I think both defenses.
Hang on.
Let me finish.
Hang on. We need to share this groundbreaking insight that Fui's just provided. The team that allows the least point will win the game. Very good. That probably the team that scores the most points will win the game as well. Yes.
That is not what I said.
Okay, finish off then.
But yeah, I think both teams' record isn't all that accurate of the talents on the teams, and maybe playing above themselves, and they're both susceptible to those aforementioned big plays. So yeah, whichever one gives up the least will probably end up being the winner. But should be a close game at least.
Thanks for that insight, big fella. That was really good. We might wrap it up with what I think is probably the most mouth-watering game of the week for a lot of people. But I know GG in particular will be hanging out for it, and it may as well just be called the John Gruden game because it's the Bucks Raiders. And let's face it, there's a bit of John Gruden history between those two teams, which even I sometimes forget just how connected they are.
Oh, because he beat them. Tuck Rule and beat them. So
yes, he did. Very good. See, that's knowledge. Very good. Yes, John Gruden won the Super Bowl 48-21 as a Buccaneers coach against his Raiders team that he'd just quit the year before. But equally fascinating, his worst defeat as a Buccaneers coach and the one that got him fired 6 years later against the Raiders. So it's quite a fitting that now he's back at the Raiders. It'll be interesting to see because they've certainly had a hell of a lot of hype this year, deservedly, with getting Gronkowski and Brady and the band back together. It'll be interesting to see if the Bucks can kind of get a bit of revenge against John Gruden and the Raiders. What do you think, Blackie? Is it going to be an exciting pass-heavy game?
Well, the whole Raiders offensive line on COVID designation. Yes, they are. So, look, I think that could cause all sorts of issues. Shaq Barrett could on Carr. It will try to see. I think Brian Ebb's back, still waiting something him. I don't know if Ruggs will have time stretch field. Aguilar's been good. Jacob should do well with that Vair, but I'll still back Brady, Marion, and Rojo.
It's all about Rojo. I don't like to rub salt in the wounds, Fui, but one of the things that the Tampa Bay's O-line proved last week was that they could stand up to your mob because they didn't give away a penalty, they didn't give away a turnover, and they didn't allow a sack. Does that mean that the Bucks offensive line is really good and they'll be able to hold off the Raiders, or is Green Bay's defense just really shit?
Do you really want me to answer this? The Packers defense is probably one of the most overrated defenses going around at the moment. They're nowhere near up to scratch. So yeah, look, I wouldn't read too much to the Buccaneers offensive performance last week. Look, not that the Raiders are probably that much better, but they're probably they can probably tackle better. So yeah, look, I actually thought you were going to just ignore this game, and it was one of my favourites looking at the schedule. So yeah, thanks for coming back to it. Yeah, as like you said, that whole COVID thing might be a bit of an issue for the Raiders offense, and I'm a guy that likes Raiders offense. I've spoken about my enjoyment of Derek Carr previously. So yeah, it might be a bit of worry, and it kind of probably tips the scales for me in the Buccaneers' favour. I think all things being equal, and I think the Raiders would give them a pretty good run. But yeah, not with things as they are.
I'm not a massive fan of the Buccaneers, but it's interesting. This is in 7 weeks. This is their 6th primetime game slot, so they're clearly
the Brady effect.
Yes, exactly. They're clearly getting the TV coverage. Blackie is the guy who's traditionally our rookie guru. One thing I'd encourage you to keep an eye out for in this game is how the wide receivers, because we all know that the Raiders have a metric shit ton of young wide receivers, but what doesn't get the same sort of press and attention is their opponents, the defensive backfield for the Bucks. The oldest cornerback in the Buccaneers backfield is 23 years old.
Who have they got? Murphy Bunch
Davis.
And then, Anton Winfield Jr., who's awesome.
Yeah, and it's just remarkable what a young, and I mean, it's an enormous achievement for whoever the defensive backfield coach is to be able to get them to come in and play that well. And they've played pretty damn strong teams, in their both their wins and even in the losses. The backfield's actually stood up really well. So I'm going to be interested to see, you get a Rugg or a Renfro lining them up against a young, Carlton Davis is the the oldest of their backfield. And like I said, he's only 23 years old, you know. He's only been playing for 3 years.
They quietly have the best set of linebackers going around as well with Devin White, Lavonte David, Shaq Barrett, and they also had, in my opinion, one of the most underrated defenders in the league in Vita Vea, but he obviously broke his ankle. He is the type of guy who eats two linemen on every play, won't Gordy stat line, will stop the run better than one.
Yeah, I think the two turning points for me in this game will be how well those cornerbacks do against the wide receiver talent at the rate. Because while they've been having a really good year, this is probably the most loaded, fast receiving. Because there's one thing the Raiders have in boatloads. It's not just young talent, but it's the speed that their receivers have. And they can get separation faster than just about any other group of receivers in the league. So I'll be really interested to see how the backfield adjusts. And then I think the other thing on the other side of the ledger, the absolutely critical point for the Bucs will be their offensive line. And yes, Rojo ran for over 100, and yes, Brady wasn't touched, he wasn't sacked, there was not even a general spit in his direction. But I personally think that's more of a reflection on just how bad the Packers are than any kind of a positive. And I think the Raiders are quietly scary in their pass rushing too. You know, they've got a bit of ability to get to the quarterback there. So that's for me, that'll be the two things that make the difference: is the backfield of the Bucs and the offensive line of the Bucs. Any other thoughts, Philly?
No, I guess just quickly on that, Max Crosby is probably one of the more unheralded pass rushers going around at the moment, and probably deserves a bit more recognition.
Blackie?
That's actually a good call.
Why are you sounding so surprised?
I am.
I've never actually heard you sound so surprised.
I'm genuinely amazed, mate.
I would have bring up Bill Cosby.
I'm not touching that one.
We probably should wrap it up with a couple of little fantasy football predictions. Are your team going to get a win, Blackie? And have you had your selection meeting yet with Brasher?
Yeah, our torrid of kicker and defence continues. I think our defence team has scored negative nearly every week. Now Sly, I think, is either due to or being cut, so we're back drawing board kicker. Outside of that,
yeah. Other than those two lot, Fui, I don't know quite what's going on with your team, but somehow you've managed to rack up a few wins.
Third highest score in the league in last week. Thank you.
And just one game behind the Bonnie Rotten, so one game behind the Giblets in the standing in the Lombardi division.
I'm on my way, except this week I've got both Carr and Jacobs against the Bucks D, so that will be interesting. See if I can back it up.
You want the really good news, Blackie?
Of course.
You're down 34-0 already.
The good
Southern
news
takeover.
is Southern takeover play.
The boy likes to pick his Eagles, doesn't he?
Yeah, crazy.
He has too, now that I look at it. He has 6 of play, so he's 34 points, 27 to win.
I was going to say here, 27 to 1 player.
And, virtually nothing to the other 5 players. So, but at least he didn't do like me and start Miles Sanders. I started Miles Sanders in Empire, so yeah, that wasn't great. Actually, you're forecast to get up quite a good score this week, Blackie. So, just remember to replace that kicker, right?
Yeah, we'll do.
All right, thank you, boys. Talk to you next week.
Thank you.
Yeah, mate.